In ancient times, they used to call this Akashvani, after which our radio is named. The part is a part of the whole. So you and the whole are not separate. So as you change, as you evolve, you start shifting the whole with you. Hey, there's this beauty, there's this secret of the universe that's always being whispered. We just have to surrender and listen to it. When someone's going through something very difficult in their life and they're looking for perspective, the question is always, why me? Why is this happening? Is there a purpose to this? Is my life over? Is there light at the end of the sun? Within each one of us, there is a voice that is our inner GPS. That is the voice of our soul.
So welcome back, Chandana. Welcome
Thank
back to
you.
the show. So you also work around Akashic reading and energy healing. I want to know, how do you access Akashic records and how does it help people?
So I'll start with just explaining what the Akashic Records are. So the Akasha is the fifth element of space. It is that element from which everything comes and into which everything goes. And the Akashic Records is the term given to this massive field of energy that is around us, space, around us, inside of us. And it is believed that all our life's experiences, all the journey of our soul has been recorded on this. So by meditating on these records, on this energy field, we find a lot of answers, a lot of perspective, a lot of guidance. In ancient times, they used to call this Akashvani, after which our radio is named. So there were a lot of sages who used to work with the records, and there were a lot of fields of astrology that have found their origin in the records. But to your point of, I guess, how does one access the records? There are multiple ways. There is meditation. There are certain tools people use. For some people, they use certain hypnotherapy or subconscious mind tools to access it. I use a very simple prayer process, which was taught by Linda Howe. It's called the pathway prayer process, and I use that to access the records. But honestly, the tool introduces you, but after you've connected to the Akasha, you realize it's a living connection. And then that connection becomes very strong. You carry that connection with you where you are.
Okay, so how does it differ from intuition?
So I think you had asked this and I may not have fully answered, is the moment you enter that realm of the Akasha in yourself, you feel an immediate change in energy. You feel an expansion, right? You feel a silence.
Yes.
Exactly. So even as a client, you can feel that something shifts. And our intuition is a direct function of who we are. Right? So our limitations, our perceptions, what we know, what we don't know, that is the canvas on which our intuition will work. But the Akasha is beyond our intuition. So sometimes, not just sometimes, most of the times the answers we get from the Akasha are not at all things that were in our line of thinking. So that is how you can tell the difference between intuition and connecting to the Akasha. It is beyond what your everyday thinking allows you to go to. So that's the big difference. And when I teach people how to connect to the records, this is actually an activity I do. I ask them to write a question and answer that from their intuition, and then open their Akashic records and write from the Akasha. And you can just see that difference very clearly.
So what are the tools that you use for accessing Akashic records?
So I use a pathway prayer process. For some of my clients who are not Akashic readers, and in hypnotherapy as well, I access the Akasha. There is something we do in hypnotherapy called life between lives. So to understand a soul's journey, and in that we access the Akashic library through hypnotherapy. But personally, on a day-to-day, I use a prayer to connect to the Akasha. This energy field is something that's been going on from time immemorial, right? So it has access to your past lives, your different lifetimes, the different life alternatives, timelines that you've been in. So Akashic record readings, when I do it for people, sometimes I automatically go into a past life. And it's beautiful to see because sometimes when they explore their current life from the past life lens, there's so much wisdom available.
Wow.
And what we think is very often not the case. We think, oh, I've got a phobia for driving because I may have had an accident. No. Some you may have lost a very dear loved one in a car accident and you felt guilty about that. Or, you may have seen something. So that clarity comes when we access a past life and directly see the wisdom from that past life. So it's a very powerful thing to do. And the Akashic Records is a very easy way to do that.
So, like, do people also meet their ancestors through Akashic reading?
Yeah, so in the Akasha, there is a term known as masters, teachers, and loved ones. Masters are your spiritual masters, right? Who are there to see the evolution of your soul. Teachers are your spiritual teachers who are there with you until you learn certain lessons, certain understanding. Okay. And loved ones are those people who are no longer in the physical realm. And they guide you. They are there because as souls, we tend to reincarnate in groups. Yeah. And this is known as soul groups. Yeah. So very often you'll have members that are your loved ones who are there. And the moment you open the record, very often for me as a reader, I always find a loved one who has something to share. And that's truly beautiful. Yeah. Because for people, it's reconnecting to that loved one and hearing that the person is communicating things and is there for them. So it's a very beautiful feeling.
Even if the deceased person have reincarnated, their energy can also come
Absolutely.
Into that records. Oh, that's beautiful.
Because we think of life as in a very linear way. You are here, then you are there.
Yeah.
But energy and soul does not go by the same rules of physical matter. So yes, a soul could have incarnated in a particular lifetime. It could be on a different timeline. It could be in another space at the same time. So that goes into quantum physics. But it's, to simply say yes.
One part of me is sitting here talking with you and one part of me can be anywhere. Like
absolutely.
Part of my soul can be anywhere.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Your energy.
Yeah.
So you can be in multiple places at the same time. And we don't consciously know how to do that as human beings, but it is possible. And when you tap into the world of energy, you see a lot of ideas and understandings that support that.
You talked about quantum physics.
Yes.
So there's a concept in quantum physics called quantum entanglement.
Could you explain it to me? I probably know it's slightly different.
Quantum entanglement is like one part is connected to every part of the universe. It's like if a particle is here and a particle is, suppose, for example, in London, somehow it is connected to the particle here.
Yes.
It's called entanglement.
Yes.
So we all are entangled with each other.
Yes.
And that's what spirituality also explains.
Correct.
So can you elaborate the two?
So there is a beautiful concept of collective conscious.
Yeah.
And that is at the very core of humanity, we have the ability to tap into the collective consciousness. So if there is suffering happening in a particular part of the world as it is today, we are not disassociated from it. Yeah. But in our waking reality, we are disengaged from it. There have been very interesting studies where they have done something to maybe a particular species of monkeys in Australia. And then monkeys in America started displaying the same behavioral change that they found in Australia. So this just tells you that there is oneness. But we experience this in our day-to-day life as well. You walk into a room and everyone is stressed. You automatically feel that tension. Or you go into a place where everyone is in a very peaceful mood. You can feel that, right? So energetically, we are connecting constantly to everybody around us. And at a larger scale, we have access. And which is why it's so beautiful. The part is a part of the whole.
Yeah.
So you and the whole are not separate. So as you change, as you evolve, you start shifting the whole with you.
Yeah, and sometimes as humans, we compare to other people, we get jealous, but then, I learned this hard way. I remind myself whenever somebody's being successful, I remind myself to be happy for them so that, because we all are one.
Hmm.
And if that person is successful, so it reminds us that we all can be there.
Yeah.
And it is somehow we are also succeeding in some way.
Yes, as humanity, we are.
Yeah.
And you'll realize as one changes, everything changes. Look at all the advancements in the world today.
Yeah.
They were individual efforts.
Yeah.
But what happens in this reality that we are in, we go into that illusion of the self as an individual I. And that creates a lot of comparison, judgment, feeling good, feeling bad. And that is the duality.
Yeah.
You're always shifting from one extreme to the other extreme. But if you take everything as being as is, and it's not that your body is existing in this universe, but the universe is existing through multiple bodies, then it shifts from a more individualistic to a more collective approach.
Yeah. And if we understand this, a lot of suffering will, just wither away.
Yes, and it will also make us very conscious of a lot of things that we are very comfortable not looking at because it doesn't affect us.
It will bring us in the feeling of feeling love for everybody. Because if we love everybody, we are practicing self-love in a way.
Yes.
Hai na?
Yes. And there's a beautiful thing as well. If you love yourself,
Yeah,
you will be able to give love in a beautiful way.
that's true. Okay. So we were talking about Akashic reading. So we were talking like how ancestors come up in the records.
Yes.
So they have specific message for the people, for the betterment of people, right?
Yes.
You talked about spirit guides. And ancestors are different. Are they same?
I mean, these are just terms we use, but yes, they can be different.
Okay.
Because our teachers and masters are, there is a full logic and science that they've specified it very clearly. Masters are people who are there with you lifetime after lifetime. And they're there to see the evolution of your soul. They are ascended beings. Then you have your teachers who are, they are your teachers. They are spiritual teachers who stay with you for a certain period till you understand and evolve, and then they move forward and you move forward. So you can have multiple teachers, just like in this lifetime. You may have one master or you may have one form of divine or God, but you have multiple teachers who come, they teach you something and they move forward. So that is the belief and construct around that.
Right. There was this concept of ancestral healing. Does it take to a place of ancestral healing through Akashic reading?
You can do that.
Okay.
So when I studied ancestral healing, I was very fascinated by it because I noticed there are certain tendencies that are there across generations in a group of people.
Yeah.
So then I realized that no matter how much we want to disassociate our physical DNA, as well as to a certain degree our emotional DNA carries those tendencies and abilities. So ancestral healing is something that you can tackle with the Akasha, especially when you realize, if you believe in the construct of multiple lives, you may be your great-great-great-grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
So as you are evolving and shifting, so is she.
So
And a lot of patterns that you're continuing and the circuits you're going through have been coming from those as well. So, where I think ancestral healing is very useful is, of course, figuring out certain root issues and working on those, but also recognizing the journey of your people and where they came from.
Yeah.
And what were their gifts that you have lost along the way. And what is their way of connecting, because those are your most natural tendencies.
I thought we connect to the traumas of ancestors, but you talked about gifts.
Of course, the gifts of ancestors. Nowadays, everything's become a little trauma-based, but the gifts of ancestors, remembering their lives. When I did my ancestral healing, I remember going and finding certain things that they did. And I was surprised because those were habits that I had, but I never valued them.
Wow.
But when I could connect that, hey, these people, this is a tendency I've carried forward, then I became a lot more aware of how I could work with those habits, work with those tendencies, and how they have served those people before. So there's a beautiful gift in ancestral healing as well. And if you look into it, you could do so much work around that.
That would be so healing. And it would lead to inner fulfillment, I should say.
I think so. I think it leads to understanding of who you are beyond the story you've told yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like it widens the scope of your existence.
So how does accessing Akashic Records help people who are struggling in some way or the other?
You know, I find it very useful when someone's going through something very difficult in their life and they're looking for perspective. The question is always, why me?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Is there a purpose to this? Is my life over? Is there light at the end of this tunnel? And then when you go into the Akashic Records, you gain so many pearls of wisdom, so much perspective behind why it's happening. What are you meant to learn from it? As a soul, how does this contribute to your journey? What are the alternatives in front of you? It makes a person feel deeply seen and held. It also it reminds a person that they are bigger than their current challenge and that there is a method to the chaos that they are experiencing. And it also gives people some deeper connection to that voice inside. You've had an Akashic Records reading, right? So you can explain maybe what happened to you and what were the reasons you decided to turn towards that.
Yeah, I think it gives you a wider picture of your limited thinking that, sometimes we're in that control mode, fixing mode. But then it gives a bigger picture. And then you feel, oh, it's like, oh, it was meant to teach us this.
Yes.
For me, accessing Akashic Records with you eased my journey.
And so after a while, I always tell people who are very fascinated by the Akasha that learn to access it yourself. So you have access to that ease, that silence, that perspective whenever you need it.
So how can we access Akashic Records without a reading?
So you can access it by learning the tools yourself.
Okay.
So whether it's the pathway prayer process, whether it is the meditation technique that can allow you to go there, whether it is listening to that guided audio that will take you there. So these tools are not very extraordinary. These are carved out in the times we are for an everyday person to connect with. So if this calls out to you, go figure it out. Okay. Explore with it and you'll find your own style. You'll find your own way of connecting to it.
Yeah.
At a very core, it is connecting to a deeper part of your own awareness. So this is just another way to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so have you ever accessed someone's Akasha and ऐसा हुआ है कि person was not ready to accept the truth?
So at the beginning of a reading, I always tell the person that whatever's coming up, take it like a story. You don't need to believe it factually. Okay. Take it like a story and there is a lesson the story is coming up, right? And just sit with it and take what resonates with you.
Yeah.
But there have been times when I'm seeing things and as a reader, I am getting nervous as to how am I going to communicate this to the person because they may not be ready for it. But at that time, I realized that my job is only to communicate. So I surrender the final processing of it to grace and I just share honestly. Yeah. And I have never, Tamanna, had this point where the person has not accepted when I've shared from that space of vulnerability. Being an Akashic reader has been a very humbling process for me because, you go into every reading knowing very well that the person may turn around and say, what is this? But that is your test as a reader. Yeah. You have to still share from a place of authenticity, integrity, and allow the person their own experience of processing it. And so when you come from that place of genuinely just doing your bit and then surrendering the fruit of it, it comes out beautifully. It's always been very connecting. I feel very connected to all my Akashic clients because it's this beautiful sacred space that we enter.
Sometimes the messages are as deep as oceans and you communicate it like anything. It takes time to absorb the messages.
Yes, of course. And I'm able to communicate it calmly because I'm just reading them.
Yeah.
If they were in my own life, I'd probably sit with those waves for a long, long time.
Yeah. So, can you share some experience of your clients which was really transformative for you as well?
So it's when I was learning how to be a reader, my teacher sat me down and she said, you do a reading for me. And you always feel nervous, right? You're like, okay, I'll do a reading for you. And this person was a very liberal, modern person. So when I was doing the reading, I kept seeing Shiva, God Shiva in the reading. And I had to bite my tongue because, I didn't want to come across as that religious person who is open the records and she's seeing a particular form of God. But I had to surrender. That's what I mean. You surrender your ego. You surrender your thoughts. And I said, I'm really sorry. I have to interrupt it. But I keep seeing Shiva. And I wasn't even sure if this person believed in faith.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, she said she would paint Shiva all the time. And she had a very special connection with Shiva. And that very day, she had said something to Shiva in her meditation. So that reading was beautiful because it taught me how to get out of the way as a reader. It taught me the beauty that unfolds when you just surrender. Yeah. And what she took away from it was truly transformational for her. But it also gave me this confidence that, hey, there's this beauty, there's this secret of the universe that's always being whispered.
Yeah.
We just have to surrender and listen to it.
And you also got an opportunity to connect to that deity, maybe?
Yes, beautifully.
Yeah, no?
Beautifully. Though when I saw it first, I was like, no, you cannot be here right now. I am doing a reading.
Yeah.
But then I realized that is Shiva.
Yeah.
Right? The destruction of your thoughts and ego.
Yeah.
And finding that ease and stillness and that wisdom. So that was my first reading, but I think it was truly transformational for me.
So was there a time when you received very challenging information through the records? You did not know how to communicate that?
So this is the beauty with the Akashic Records. They're not fixed. Okay. So there is one part which will tell you about your life's journey so far. Then there is a part that is dynamic. Okay. That is based on your choices, your experiences, how you evolve as a soul. There have been times when I've been shown things, but I have always said a silent prayer that let me communicate this with integrity. And as I started to say those things, people took away the things they needed to from that. Okay. And they went beautifully with it. So that made me realize that, hey, if my intention is clear, I must honor what I'm seeing and share that. And trust that people will receive it, because when you're doing a reading, you're connected to that person at a much deeper level. So what you say and how they receive it is where the journey begins.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful, actually. And I think people can really benefit from when they access Akashic Records, if they are curious or they're struggling with something.
Yes.
What would be your final message to someone who is curious about Akashic reading?
So I think the one thing I really want everybody to take away is that within each one of us, there is a voice that is our inner GPS. That is the voice of our soul. And it's available to us. It is guiding us. It doesn't judge us. It is loving, supportive, and it knows. Create space in your life to connect with it. And when you do connect with it, it can be truly empowering.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It is very important so that we connect within ourselves to have healthy relationships and to have a healthy life full of empowerment and abundance.
Yes.
So that we feel truly empowered rather than being limited to the circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your honesty, and your presence.
Thank you for having me. It's such a beautiful journey I've seen you on. So I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
And I'm really grateful to you for pushing me through this journey. You'll always be the one who pushed me to this journey, and I'm really grateful.
I'm grateful to hear that.